Welcome, everybody, to Edge of the Rabbit Hole. We have a fantastic show coming up for you tonight. Psychic medium Michelle Motherella Piper is in the house. Coming up next. Welcome, everybody, to Edge of the Rabbit Hole. I'm author and ghost historian Mike Ricksecker. With me, as always, my co-hostess Vanessa Hogel, and down in the chat room, Quarantine Ghost, moderating the chat and tossing out cookies from what I understand most nights. So we have a fantastic show coming up for you tonight. Michelle Motherella Piper, she's a psychic medium and a doctor of philosophy in natural health and holistic nutrition. She has a new book out on intuition and spirit guidance, which we're going to get into, but take a second here just to let you know that after the show tonight, just before we do the shout outs, after we've let Michelle go, Vanessa has a very special announcement, so you're going to want to stay tuned for that. So, but without further ado, Michelle, welcome to the show. Happy to have you.
Hi, thank you for having me. I'm so excited to be with you, both of you. It's going to be fun.
Oh,
Yay.
we're definitely going to have a great time. Yeah, absolutely.
I love it when we have another psychic medium on the show.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
I love it because that's what I do.
I know. We're going to encapsulate Mike.
Yeah, I know. We were already talking before the show that I'm just going to let you two run with it, and I'm just going to sit back and enjoy. But, Michelle, I have to ask you before you two just run away with everything, which is fine. Where did the nickname Motherella come from?
I don't get asked that as much as you think. That's so
Really?
funny you bring that up. Yeah. I mean, in my live shows, when I'm like touring Midwest, then I'll get asked like in my live shows, but I don't get that asked a lot. It's so funny. I had heard, so long story short, I was already divorced. I had 3 small kids under the age of 4. I was going through a hard time during that difficult period as a single mom. I was carrying laundry basket, juggling my full-time job and running with the kids. And one day I had a breakdown in my hall, right, with a laundry basket, cell phone laying on the floor, 3 kids crying, me in my pajamas at like 3 p.m, 25 pounds overweight by this time. And I'm sitting there, I had a major meltdown, and I just was praying, like, please, I need help. You got to help me. What direction am I going in? What am I doing? I want to be the best mom I can be, but this is tough on me. And all of a sudden I heard in my head, you're going to be Motherella. And I was like, because it was in my head, but it was a male voice.
Okay.
And I was like, what in the hell? And then psychically I see pictures, right?
Right.
When I'm doing my readings and stuff, I see pictures. So they had shown me a picture of a t-shirt and it said Motherella on it. So I thought, I actually have a picture behind me because I saved it. I thought it was a t-shirt company about a mom living the single life, but raising 3 kids. So I immediately called my friend and said, oh my gosh, you won't believe this, but I had heard a voice, she knows my ability. I said, I had heard a voice that said, I'm going to be doing Motherella work. I said, I'm starting a t-shirt company. She goes, are you effing kidding me? She's like, you can't even handle what you got. You're going to put a t-shirt company? You're out of your damn mind. I said, nope, I'm telling you, I saw it, I felt it, I heard it, I'm running with it. Hung up with her. This was July 25th of 2006. And the next day I had found a trademark attorney, and I called and I had trademarked the name Motherella, thinking it was a t-shirt company. And I had drawn a picture on a napkin, sent it to a graphic designer, and I got everything started to start a t-shirt company. Huh. And in about 9 months after that, so starting July 27th of 2006 is the actual morph day of Motherella. Okay. I'll be working as Motherella 14 years this July. So my anniversary is
Congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you. So a few months later, even though I had this gift the whole time, I wasn't doing readings. I wasn't utilizing it in a professional way. So I went and got an estimate on the t-shirts, and the guy's like, there's no way you're putting this on a t-shirt. It's too busy. He's like, if you like the name, put the name. And I'm like, well, nobody's going to know what that means. Motherella. Who's going to buy a t-shirt that says Motherella? It doesn't even mean anything. And he goes, well, let's just try it. So he did a couple of prototypes, and he made it back then, you know, the bedazzle. I'm sure Vanessa knows what I'm talking about, the bedazzle t-shirts. And I was like, ooh, this looks really cool. And it was in red and black. And I was like, oh, this is really cool. I'm like, well, maybe I'll just talk about what it is and they'll sell. Well, guess what? They never sold. So about 8 months down the road, 10 months down the road, I started calling people and for side cash, because like I said, I was a single mom. And I said, I'm going to start doing readings and see if I can make a profession out of it. And my very first client, I swear, I still love her to today, wherever she ended up moving. I haven't talked to her for years. Her name was Audrey. She put me on the map. I did one reading for her. And next thing you know, I was flooded and booked out almost 2 months in advance after I read that one person. And it spiraled. It spiraled from there. Wow. So I went from t-shirt to medium in about less than a year. And
wait, medium t-shirts? Year, though,
yeah, right. yeah. Medium-sized t-shirt to a psychic medium.
Right.
And so next thing you know, I contacted somebody and said, listen, I want to switch, a business attorney is who I'm speaking of, and I want to switch my t-shirt over to psychic medium. And they helped me get it trademarked under psychic medium in books and shows and podcasts, and took the t-shirt portion off of it, or left it under products. Right. And with, you know, I was up and running 10 months later, and here I am 14 years later, all by referral.
That's fantastic.
That's how I've done it. I've never wanted that to be my job. Mm-hmm. I just haven't. It's just because it's a lot, and it's too much. It's too much. You know. Yes. And plus, I have my own full-time job already, but I understand every single person I get is by referral.
Yes.
Every single one. Yeah. And it's lovely to have that faith put in.
It is. And, you know, it just shows that spirit's at work. You know, I always tell people it's not about whether I'm reading you accurately. It's about, are you connected enough to spirit to get your message accurately? Because I'm not going to tell you what you want to hear. I'm going to tell you what you need to hear. And I've been very blessed. But this is full time for me. I actually left. I was in private for almost 15 years. And I left and was able to, bless my heart with how hard I've worked. I was able to do this full time and actually reduce my hours as a doctor of natural health down to, I'm only work 6 days a month as in practice.
Yeah, I commend you greatly on being able, like I said, could I? Yes. Do I want to? No.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's not for everybody. It's no. You know, I think people see it on TV and they think it's fun and entertaining, and
it's exhausting.
It's that too. I mean, I have my energy pretty under control with my diet and health right before readings. I make sure I'm eating properly, and then right after. But you're right. It is exhausting because you become almost like a psychotherapist. Oh, yeah. On the reading sometimes the reading navigates into more of a counseling session, and you're getting people's energy all day long. Like this morning, today, I've already done 18 readings.
Oh, hell
today.
No.
And so
no. Love y'all. Guess what ain't happening?
But my passion is writing, like you, Vanessa.
Yes.
You know, my passion really is writing. I love writing. I love teaching. I really do. I really enjoy it.
I want to ask you something. Solely selfish. I'm being very selfish when I ask you this, because I'm not promoting myself, but I recently had something come out, and what I put in that was very, very, very hard. It was very, I mean, I exposed some very traumatic points in my life, from childhood forward. But not only did I expose him, I didn't expose him to become a victim, and so people could say, "Oh, poor Vanessa." I owned the part I played in it, whether it was not listening to myself, not listening to my abilities, whether it was being stupid, or whatever it was. I owned my decisions in these instances, and I did not place blame. I accepted blame for my part that I played in it. I feel like that was probably the most beneficial thing I could have ever done for anybody, was putting that.
I think it makes you relatable, and I think it makes you authentic.
Do you think something like that helps? I mean, if you're looking at it from a natural, holistic thing, because a clinical psychotherapist or psychologist or psychiatrist is going to look at me and be like, you don't have a degree in this. How are you telling people how to make their lives better? What's your natural version of it?
My natural version is that when we go through life experiences and we're trying to blend, science with, this is how I do it, science with natural health, with spirituality, with quantum physics, I'm kind of a blend of that. And listening to what you just said has already intrigued me, but also made me closer just in that sentence because it's relatable. I've had a very, very tough life, very tough. I've hit rock bottom multiple times. I have wanted to leave this earth multiple times, if you follow what I'm saying.
Tried it a few times. Yes, ma'am, I do.
Yes.
I know.
So you know what I'm saying? So life experiences is not taught in any education system. It's not. And I can say this confidently because I was a professor for 4 years at 2 universities. And I had students who were straight A's with a 4.0. And I knew going into practice, they were going to fail because they were book smart, but they couldn't take the book smart and put it into practice. And then I had people in practice who were riding and hovering on a C-D scale, and they were able to do better in the real world than in books. So you don't have to always have titles to make a difference. If you notice on my page, I rarely talk about myself being a doctor. Even though I have 2 PhDs, I rarely talk about it. I talk about my psychic mediumship because the titles, even though people say you went to school for so many years, you've done this, you've been in the medical community 25 years, you have all this experience, that's great, but that's not who I am. That's not how I'm helping people. Even though people think you don't need a title to help somebody because of your life experience, because even if you change one person's life and you saved their life, they're going to tell 20 more people you saved them. And then those 20 people are going to learn from your experience. And even if you never meet them, you have to trust and know that those people benefited from your story.
You about made me cry.
So that's what I want you to take away with what you just said. And there's a huge component to what you both are doing in this, in our community with what I'm doing, because I think now more than ever, people need to start understanding that the afterlife lives amongst us. And they have to know that the paranormal does exist.
Absolutely.
And in order to combat those energies, you don't need a title for the things that are effing with your brain, which is going on right now. People are losing their shit.
Oh, yeah.
There's chaos going on.
Yeah.
There's depression. There's suicides. There's killings. There's violence. So doing your story or saying your story, I could give a crap. I'd rather listen to you, and I don't care if people get offended when I say this, than some therapist because they have 70 titles behind their name. I would rather listen to somebody that I can relate to, that can make a difference in my life, over someone who read a book, got a degree from that book, and has never once experienced depression, suicide, drug overdose, drug addiction,
self-harm.
How am I listening to you?
Yeah.
How are you telling me to heal? Because you
it's like they say, recovering or former drug addicts, which you're always an addict. You always have that tendency.
Yeah.
They make the best counselors because A, they're not going to judge, and B, they understand what it's like when you are the lowest of the low. And that's what I tried to do is I showed my low.
And I bet you changed a lot of lives just in that 5 minutes. I can guarantee you.
God, I hope so. So
Yeah.
let's
Michelle,
talk about yours. I want to hear about yours.
Well, Michelle, I wanted to ask you,
yeah.
because you made a good point about, in today's time with all the chaos going on. So how are you, talking to people and, I guess maybe comforting them or relating to them with all the chaos going on about the afterlife and, how that is working in our world with all the craziness that's going on out there right now?
I've done a lot of work recently. I'd say since this whole thing started in March. Luckily, a lot of my followers knew this was coming. I had given my predictions out almost a year prior, and I had already given them what was coming in 2020 back in 2012 when the awakening started.
Okay.
Our awakening comes at different times. Just because we're calling the time right now the Great Awakening doesn't mean you're going to be spiritually awoke. It's just not. So I'm trying to help people, which is why I think it's odd that my book from the universe kept getting pushed back. It kept getting pushed back until May. It was the craziest thing. If I even walked you through the timelines, you'd be like, okay, that's not a coincidence. That's not a coincidence, because nothing's a coincidence. I knew the universe. Yep. So I knew the universe was setting me up for May. And the minute May came, I knew the day that book came out that it was meant to come out when people were meant to know who they were, to get into their own intuition, to have their own spiritual awakening, to work through their levels of consciousness. So how I've been doing it is that through all this chaos that we're going through, I'm working really hard on keeping people connected to their higher self, to their intuition, to harness that intuition, and to stop second guessing their gut. And a lot of my content is about that. And, like I said, everyone thinks that the afterlife is only about those who have passed on. And we miss the whole bigger picture of what energetically is going on in our world when you're thinking it's only about deceased loved ones. It is to a point, but they are not in charge of what's going on in our world right now. This is spiritual war, and this has been a long time coming. And we have to learn to connect with our higher selves and ourselves and detach from the human world in order to survive the energetic pull that's going on right now. Because if not, you're going to end up in the division and you're not going to be part of the solution. Hands down, end of story. There is no other way around it.
Bingo.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Yes. And that's what we've been saying for so long. We've had other people on here who have said things similar. My thing is, to me, this time is solely about taking the ego out.
Yeah.
Take the ego out. If you can just get rid of that freaking ego that tells you that you have to be involved in everybody else's business and ignore yours, that is, I think, where so many of the problems come into play right now. People can't connect with their true self because they're too busy focusing on everybody else.
Well, they're too busy, Vanessa, engaging. Stop engaging. Yeah. It's really simple. Just stop engaging.
Yeah.
Engage with yourself. How many people take time to actually engage with themselves? They don't. And I'm not talking from a sexual standpoint.
You know what? If it feels good,
if it feels good, do it. But I'm really not talking the sexual side. I'm talking the intuitive side. But don't engage, people. Simple. People are always like, constantly on my lives and everything. How do I do it? How do I do it? Don't engage.
Yeah.
That's how you control your energetic chaos. Don't engage. So
it really isn't that hard to find your zen. It's not that hard to find your zen.
No, it is hard. I don't think it is, but it's weird how many people do feel that way. You know what I mean? It amazes me.
You're
Is that my
absolutely
internet
right.
unstable? Is that my internet?
A little bit.
Just a little bit. Yeah.
Not again.
Glitched a little bit, but we'll be
It's
all
okay.
right. We'll be all right.
The three of us together really can pull some spirits through
There's a
her.
lot of energy there. So, Michelle, let's talk
agree.
about your latest book here. Unveil Your Intuition, a workbook connecting you with your higher self and spirit guidance. So I haven't had a chance to read this yet, but just from talking with you and just the content that's supposed to be included in this book sounds absolutely fascinating. So I do have a link down there in the description for viewers to pick this up. So, but what can people expect from it?
Thank you so much. So I have taken all 45 years of me doing this, and I found a way to dummy it down and narrow it down in a way that was extremely comfortable and relatable for other people to do what I do on a smaller scale or larger scale, depending on how far they want to take this. So basically, I walk through each chapter, starting with chapter 1, from knowing and understanding what intuition truly is to understanding the level of consciousness. I am a brain junkie. I am fascinated by the human brain. I have studied the human brain with spirituality for over 20 years. So the levels of consciousness, quantum physics, anything to do with brain health and how that incorporates into your higher self and spirituality, I am obsessed with. And so I take you through those chapters to understand, and there's homework assignments at the end of each chapter because I get you right to dive in to doing the work. As you move through the levels of consciousness, we cover how that incorporates with the chakras and what it means to meditate. And then the fun part, getting into the middle of the book, is I get you connected with at least one of your spirit guides, if not more, spirit animals, and then I move you into connecting with your deceased loved ones. I explain how the afterlife comes through and what each part of the afterlife represents. And then I teach you the psychic side, I teach you the mediumship side, and there's homework assignments at the end of every part of the chapter. And then at the very end, I make you blend it all together. And then during that book, I make you do a soul contract release, because most of the time, people cannot connect if they have karma following them around all the time. So there's a soul releasing contract chapter in the book that I touch upon with your past lives and how your past lives can really be effing you up in this life and how you need to release that karma, those soul contracts. And then hopefully right after you close the book, you're connecting.
You touched just now on something that is extremely important to me. And first off, I want to thank you for it, because I wasn't even thinking about talking about this, but I have to now because you're you.
Go right ahead.
This is and we've talked about this before on the show, but this is my last time here, and I know
Mine
that.
too.
Yeah. So because we're like this, but this is my last time here, and it's because I've made it to an age I've never been before. I had a child I've never had before. And I've overcome extreme trauma like I've never survived before. I've been murdered in each previous life, and I've never made it past 20, and I'm 48 now. And yes, I beat the odds this time, Michelle. But yeah, I know, right? But ever since I finally accepted who I am, everything about myself, things that have been still been hiccups, but everything has changed.
Beautiful.
And that I think is, I'm so glad you've done this book, and I'm so glad that you're trying to teach people to do this, because if they could have just been where I was and be where I am now, they would know the importance of that journey. And of accepting yourself for who you are. We spend so much time denying who and what we are that we curse ourselves. I call it a self-fulfilling prophecy.
That's so true, because I've been in that position myself.
Yes.
And I'm still learning who I am. I'll be 51 in August.
Oh, you hot woman. You're a hottie.
Soul sister.
I'm telling you.
Soul sister.
We kill it.
Yeah, Cosmos sis.
We killing it. So anyway.
We're killing it.
But it's
Yeah.
I love that you think that way. And especially somebody that educationally speaking is on a level a lot higher than maybe the rest of us. For you to still have that humility and that need and that drive and that love to make others feel better and do better and be better. I just nothing but love for you.
Aw, well, same to both of you. I mean, we're all doing this together in our own way. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'm a school junkie, and so I had to actually stop at some point, because if it was up to me, I'd be in school forever.
Brother who was professional education person.
Right.
And I love learning, but I think my calling years ago was it's time to start putting your money of education where your mouth is and start doing something with it rather than retaining it. And, I'll always be a forever spiritual student, and I probably will forever be a natural health student in my own way. But I don't think, I don't think I'll ever stop trying to help people connect with their self and in the spirit world.
Good.
I'll do it until I die. And either you like it, and if you don't, then you can unfollow me. But that's my job. I'm not here to project my beliefs on anybody, but I am here to show you how you can do your own research to find out who you are, because our soul information is there at every given moment. But I think people are afraid to tap into who they are. You said it perfectly, Vanessa.
Yeah. Thank you.
You said it perfectly. There's many times I did not want to look at myself in the mirror, my darkest times. And now sometimes those dark times still creep up for me, because your healing doesn't happen quickly when you're doing this work. Your healing continues on and on and on. We are forever spiritual students. So for those who are listening, if anything Vanessa said or Mike says or I say that resonates with you, that is probably spirit giving you a little push to say, listen up, because you can do this, you can heal, you can connect, and you can recognize that your faults might just be your golden ticket to changing your life for the better, or someone else's life for the better.
Absolutely.
So that's how
love you.
I love you more. I love you more. That's why we're together on the show, all of us.
There you go.
I gotta take the glasses off and wipe it down, because that is so important. Self-reflection is not bad. It's wonderful.
It's beautiful.
Because when you can get to a point where something bothers you so greatly, and you allow yourself that moment of, and then you're like, but hold it. Where's this taking me? What am I supposed to learn from this? Where am I going from this? And you've moved past that anger, and you're at a whole other place, and you're not karmically indebted. You haven't had, irreparable repercussions from it. You haven't had any of that, because you learned.
You did. But don't you think
beautiful? It
is gorgeous. But don't you think, Vanessa, some people don't want to get uncomfortable in order to get comfortable?
They don't. That is one thing. And again, one of the reasons that I wrote this last one is there is an epidemic that is going on in the world, but especially, let's go ahead and say it, y'all. Don't get mad at me, in America. I want to be a victim, because it's easier to be a victim.
Yeah.
It's easier.
Yes.
It is easier to be a victim. It is easier to feel like you're a target. It is easier to ask for acknowledgement for nothing than to try for something without accolades.
Well, I always say it's easier to stay in the shit too. It's easier.
Yeah.
It's easier to be unhappy. People think, I don't like being unhappy. Well, look at yourself. I always say, really? You don't like being unhappy? Because how long have you been unhappy? And they're like 10 years. And I'm like, it's easier to stay unhappy.
You love it. You love it.
To get uncomfortable and make a change. So that way you can go into the unknown. I constantly am changing.
Yes.
Yeah, there's a term and people have probably heard it before, but I used it years ago. Like when I was in my my marriage, and it was comfortably miserable.
Yes. I would.
That's a good one. Comfortably miserable.
Comfortably miserable. Mm-hmm. Yep.
Because the devil you know is easier than the devil you don't.
Right.
And the way I look at it, you can sprinkle powdered sugar on a pile of shit. It doesn't make it a donut. Okay? You have you you have to be willing to say, I'm worth it. Mm-hmm. You have to be willing to do that. You're absolutely fucking right when you say that people that it's just easier, it's more comfortable. Because being happy takes work. It takes work. You've got to be willing to put the hours in. And if you're not, I'm not being a bitch. Don't come bitching to me.
And those who are listening, you know what the secret too about the spirit world when you're unhappy?
What?
You're not connected. Hello.
Bingo.
You're not connected.
Why can't people realize that it's you? I mean, you said the secret, the book, The Secret, manifesting, doing that. Mm-hmm. People don't understand it runs both ways. You can manifest happiness, or you can manifest being miserable. Mm-hmm. Pick one, because whatever your thought process is, that's what you're going to bring. And because it isn't because it's not instant gratification of I just won the lottery and I'm having sex every day and and pizza on tap, know, that they think that it isn't working. Mm-hmm. It takes time, but it does.
It takes time.
Yeah, everybody wants everything now. I mean, it comes, but a lot of times you have to work hard for it. I mean, very rarely does it just come. I mean, some people, yes, out there are lucky and they just land into something, but most people have to work hard and work hard and work hard, and you have to keep pushing forward. So, but if you stop, you know what happens? Nothing.
It stops.
Yeah. That's right. That's such a good point, Mike. Totally agree with that. And I think too,
go ahead, honey.
I was just going to say, and I think too, part of this whole thing that we're talking about is that when you look at your life and you take like right now, everyone who's listening, I want to challenge you for just 2 seconds to close your eyes and just do a self-reflection on the last 5 years. And if you can't say you're happy in your relationship, 1000%. And if you're not happy with your financial freedom, 1000%. And you are not happy with your, let's just say career, 1000%, then that means there's some lack in your self-love and connection to your higher self and your spirituality to see what your soul is truly meant to live, because our souls are here to love. Yes. And that's your sign, that's your push, just in that quick exercise, that it's about self-care, self-love, and reconnection. And if you can connect with your soul and who you are and who you're meant to be right now without worrying about if someone else or some external source is going to make you happy, your whole world will change very quickly. However, do not think that if you had 20 years of that unhappiness, like Mike just said, that you're going to fix it by reading a book and doing one reading. That's not how it works, people.
You're absolutely right. The thing it's I guess what I think that people do the most is, and the best analogy I can put at it is they want to try for a moment and then they get discouraged and they back away. Okay, when you go to have sex, you don't do it for 5 minutes and go, yeah, I'm all right. You want to complete it, right? I mean, you want the prize.
You want the woohoo.
Yeah. You
want I worked on that. Yeah, I'm done.
Yeah. I had a good 60 seconds there. I'm good. It doesn't work that way. It takes effort. I'm a master at analogies, by the way. But it doesn't work that way. And it's lazy. It's laziness.
It is. Totally.
Get off your ass. Quit bitching and try That it's that simple.
Amen, sister. Mike, you're blushing over there. Did she make you blush? I see the redness in those cheeks.
Yeah, there you go. I was getting a little red in the cheeks. Yeah.
I'm just saying, if you're not going for the prize, don't even fucking.
Yeah,
do it.
no, that's what I'm saying.
Mike's envisioning it. He's envisioning it. Ooh,
Could be.
Could
show. Be. Yeah. Well, we do have a lot of questions down in the chat, so I do want to get to some of these.
Okay.
So we'll start with with the first one that we got early on, Victoria Monday. So she wanted to know, Michelle, since you know the date of birth of Motherella, have you done a natal chart for your company to see what's ahead?
I have not. In fact, that's funny you bring that up. I don't typically get readings. So I have never done, although it's been offered, I have not done a birth chart reading or a natal chart or anything about the business, nothing actually. One of my closest friends is an astrologer who does do birth chart readings, and she's constantly asking me. So it's funny you say that, because on my show next month, I'm going to allow her to say a portion of it.
Oh, wow.
While she's my guest on the show. But I'm so in tune with my own reading. Like, I can read myself, that I don't like to be deterred off my inner knowing, because I can hear for myself and I can see for myself. Even though they say psychic mediums can't, that's fine for others, but I can. So okay. I have not done that. I'm open to it, but I haven't had anyone do it for me, because I get my own information.
All right, very cool.
I hope that makes sense.
It does.
It does. Tom McNicholas was wondering, do I have an intuitive nature if I can wake before my alarm and know when the phone is going to ring?
Yes. Okay. In fact, that almost errs on the side of almost like premonition. Mm-hmm. I find that when clients are in a very solid routine, believe it or not, they're more in tune. And I think it's because their body is designed to go to sleep and wake up without stress. And I think it creates a level of balance where they're more clear in their mind and body and soul. And so intuition steps up a notch. And then I don't want to get into the whole physiological process mm-hmm. of that, but routine keeps your physiological response in your body at a very stable level, and it doesn't shift your stress hormones and your cortisol and things like that, which is huge, by the way, for spirituality. Mm-hmm. It is huge for psychic mediumship work. It's huge for connection and intuition. So yes, and I think you are getting premonitions as well.
Interesting. Okay, very cool. Zippy Davis, what if you're trying to connect with yourself but find yourself in conflict?
So that is ego. So I talk about the 3 levels of consciousness. So I do it like this. There's a 2D, 3D level of consciousness that sits in your subconscious base part of the brain that typically keeps a lot of the inner conflict like you speak of, and keeps you in conflict with reality versus non-reality, and keeps you in mythical belief and keeps you in mythical thinking. Then, so imagine that right now in this hell that we're living in on Earth right now, 3D, that we're in the 3D. Then as you move past, if you imagine an airplane or a rocket ship and going up, and right when you pass the clouds, there's like an energetic barrier around the Earth. The Earth is round. Okay, everyone thinks it's flat. It's not, it's round. So there's an energetic barrier that once you hit, that's why planes can't go high. That's why you can only be in a spaceship to break through that energetic barrier to actually end up in the galaxy. That barrier is the 4D. That is your conscious level. And that conscious level, that 4D conscious level, is where you start rationalizing. So if you imagine you're here at 3D subconscious, you start rising above, you're taking your spaceship, you hit this energy up there, and you're looking down going, do I want to leave Earth? That's all the shit going on down there, which looks fun, but yet there's light coming up there, and I kind of want to be at peace, so I want to go up there. So you've got 1 foot in Earth, 1 foot in the galaxy, and you're going through this inner struggle. That is when you're in the 4D. Then you decide, you know what? Screw Earth. Like I want to say right now. Get the F out.
Yeah, that's not a different planet.
Right, I'm out. And you take that foot consciously and you place it over that energetic barrier. Both feet are in the galaxy. Boom, damn, you went up to super conscious. And that, my friend, is your highest self. That is your highest intuition. There's only light, love. There's no fear, no worry. So the inner conflict is most of the time seen when you're in the 4D, because your body and soul knows you want more, you have more, there's more. But your subconscious is going, stay in fear, stay in worry, stay here. Listen to your media. Listen to what's going on. Don't do it. You can't. You don't have enough titles. You're too old. You're too young. You're fat. You're thin. You're ugly. That's the ego.
Right.
And that's where your conflict sits. And so most of the people reside in the 4D, I believe, just based on all the years of experience. I've done hundreds of thousands of readings from people from all over the world. And most people reside in the 4D. I don't. I don't have any fear. I am more afraid of a human. My only fear is a human walking down the street with free will, with his head up his ass or her head up her ass, and deciding to do something stupid, because that's most of the time what's happening.
Yeah.
And that's what fears me. So that whoever asked that question, I think the inner conflict is coming from you're stuck, you're hovering in the 4D.
See, I'm short, chubby. Oh, you know what? And I own that shit.
You own it. You're beautiful, girl. You're beautiful.
Thank you.
Like you said earlier, you know who you are and you're okay with who you are.
Fuck yeah. I mean, it is what it is. And I mean, any one of the viewers knows that I don't sugarcoat shit. I am not Willy Wonka. Yeah. So it is.
Other one. I gotta write all these one-liners down.
She's got a ton of
them. I don't know what to fucking tell. Oh. Yeah, but I do have a question though. Like when Tom was talking about knowing when certain things happen and this, that, and the other. I mean, I'm of the belief system that even if you aren't having those signs, that everybody has this capability if they're willing to dig deep and uncover it from all of everything that is piled onto us from prepubescence on up, from the time when we're told that's not an imaginary friend, you're just making that up, from in childhood we're all new and open, and we have those tendencies, and they're quite literally browbeat out of us as we get older. So even if there is somebody in the chat that isn't getting that inner alarm system or doesn't know when the phone is going to ring, I don't want them to think that they don't have those capabilities as well. They just have to be willing to do the work. Correct? That's
true. That's so true. And I have a chapter, that's funny you brought that up, because I wrote a chapter in my book. I forgot to bring this up when you were asking me about that concept, about how we're all born with the natural born gift of both psychic and mediumship. We both are. And people rebutted to me when I talked about this on my own show previously, that no, I've read books where, everyone's a natural born psychic, not everyone's a natural born medium, or everyone's a natural born medium and not everyone's a natural born psychic. That's all bullshit.
Yeah.
All natural.
They all have something to some degree. Yeah.
We all, but it's just different levels.
Right.
You know what I mean? That's all. So yes, you're correct, Vanessa. Everyone listening, or writing in the chat room, you are all capable. But somehow along the way, after you were either adopted into a family or birthed from someone's vagina or taken out of the abdomen through C-section, or however you came into this world, somehow along the way you were navigated and suppressed through, like Vanessa said, culture systems, morals, belief systems, our parents, ignorance of not knowing the spirit world and things like that. And so you just uncover it as you get older. Now, what I'm noticing, I don't know about you and Mike, Vanessa, but I'm noticing, I'm starting to see spiritual awakening in teenagers at a rapid pace.
Oh, yeah.
Rapid pace.
Oh, yeah.
Very rapid pace. And everyone's treating it like they're being obstinate. But you know what? I don't see it like that. They're woke.
They're definitely getting there and feeling the energy shift.
Oh, totally.
you know,
Totally.
and I encourage that. I have a 17-year-old son, and he's the whole reason I came back out of the broom closet. I locked this bitch up 20 years, you know, and so I burst myself out of that broom closet. I'm like, hey, but my son is the same way, and even though it doesn't present itself as you and I would present ourselves, there is a knowing. There is an understanding. There is an evolution and maturity amongst certain teenagers that I'm seeing that I don't remember seeing before. I don't remember it being brought to my attention before. And I'm fascinated by it. I'm a little bit frightened by it because I know how yes. Well, you and I both know how terrifying this can be sometimes.
Yes.
And when you're talking about a young mind plus hormonal imbalances and everything else, then that's a lot on their plate to deal with.
There's a lot of teen angst going on.
Yes, a lot. One other thing, you said you're fascinated by the brain.
Yes.
Okay. All right. Help a sister out. It has been my longstanding theory that traumatic brain injury and multiple NDEs can actually open that door wider in order to receive information. And I almost died 4 times before I was 2, and I have a traumatic brain injury. So I have scar tissue on my left frontal lobe.
Okay.
So that wasn't found until I was 20. And that's when the seizures started. So, and then the hospital almost killed me. They OD'd me on Dilantin, and I've been actually.
Oh my God.
Oh, girl.
Sis.
Straight up. But I've been able to keep everything under control, which I'm lucky for, and I'm no longer on control or anything else. But I actually did a whole thing on YouTube about this. I believe personally that the only reason I'm to the level I am, not the only reason, but the main reason, is because of those particular instances. What is your viewpoint on the correlation between traumatic brain injuries, NDEs, and psychic abilities?
So I believe that a lot of those traumatic injuries, whether they've presented themselves in this lifetime from previous lives, because a lot of times our injuries are related to past life imprints.
Yes.
So that DNA is stored and recognized in the brain, which we sometimes, and I know people are going to think this is crazy, but we sometimes call imbalances in the brain or firing or disease process. When I believe there's a whole spiritual component to the reincarnation section that brings us into this world in this lifetime with these mishaps in the human current life experience. So I do believe that, in my opinion, that there's a lot of correlation with previous traumatic trauma, which then in turn can happen in this life experience with further brain trauma until the point where you're either going to recognize it, heal it, and explode with it in a positive way, which just sounds like what you did. But I also believe that certain humans born into this lifetime that have experienced brain trauma end up getting a higher connection just through that either near-death experience where they kind of have that light and, you know, they meet their maker and it says, nope, it's not time. You're going back. And that's when you know you're meant to do bigger or more here.
Are we going to talk about how you keep calling them humans?
We can, because
you know what I'm saying.
It's a show.
Yeah,
I do.
I love how you're doing that though, because I believe that we are made up of many different
many.
And so I'm fascinated at your take on that and how you were being so specific. Would you love to expand on that?
Well, it's controversial, but my followers know why I talk like that, because I, you're a soul in a human body. This is just the armor. It's just the armor. And there's a lot of humans who represent a external human, but on the inside, they are not necessarily good souls either.
Right.
This is a show.
That's where I wanted you to go.
This is a show, and we have our human component, we have our human look-alike components, we have our makeshifters, we have our shapeshifters, I could keep going. So when I speak of humans, I'm using that word in a term that's relatable to other people who may or may not understand that. And so they can understand when I say human, they're thinking their brain automatically goes to the physical body, the physical organ. The more reality of it.
You call it armor. You call it armor. I call it a meat sack.
Right.
So I like yours is way sweeter.
Yeah.
So we'll go with yours.
Yeah, I like the armor or shell idea better. Or if anybody that's watched Altered Carbon, they call it a sleeve. So sounds a little bit better than meat sack, Vanessa.
Sleeve sounds perverted. I don't even know why.
What is this show coming to?
I know.
We had it one time, and it turned into a 1-900-BABE show.
It did. So we have we have about 10 minutes left in the show. I do want to get to some more of our viewer questions here. It absolutely flew by. So try to get to as many of these as we can before we have to wrap it up and say goodbye. Okay. Which, by the way, everybody, of course, if you haven't yet, please go down into the description where there's a link to Michelle's book, Unveil Your Intuition. Quarantine Ghost has also been throwing the link in the chat, so thank you to them for doing that. But from Sharon Lane, she was wondering, how much influence does our deceased friends and family have on us?
So I speak about this in the book as well, but they don't have a lot of influence on our path and purpose. Our deceased loved ones that we knew in this lifetime, even if you were born into this lifetime and they were alive and you just don't remember them or you didn't meet them, once they leave the human earth, they are not part of your path and purpose. They are meant to love us from afar and help guide us and protect us. They're still beings, and I think that's where the misconception come in. Our deceased loved ones are still beings. They're just beings in another dimension, and we need to respect that. They haven't, we can go into a whole nother show talking about what death means, but so their influence isn't a lot. I see a lot of people praying for help and, tell me what I need to be doing on my path. Tell me this, tell me that. Well, you're missing the fact that comes from your spirit guides.
Yeah, well, entire cultures are focused to ancestor worship.
Totally. And I think that's great. And I'm not disclaiming anything, but with hundreds of thousands of readings that I've done and been kind of, doing this intuitive study, spirit has been my teacher. I've never taken a class. I've never taken any courses. I have totally learned what I do from the spirit world with constant chronic channeling all day, every day, over and over and over for the last 45 years. And your loved ones are truly meant to love you from afar and give you that pat when you need it, when you're in those hardest times or you're missing them. And they're almost, I feel, and you might laugh at this, but you two will understand it. I'm sure people listening would too. I almost feel like they're kind of like our validation. Like, I feel like when our loved ones leave, I think the reason why they come through so great for us is because they're meant to validate, hey, hello, guess what? There is an afterlife. Hello, I'm going to give you this clue. And man, we're having a party up here. We're playing poker, we're on this, we're on that, but I'm still going to give you a clue so you know I'm still around. It's almost like they're kind of like our validators as well as our guidance, like our little guardian angels.
Okay, so and can some ancestors come back as spirit guides? I've heard people talk about that.
I learned through a channeling session I had with one of my spirit guides. I didn't even know this because, there's a lot of written work out there that kind of contradicts each other. There's never an absolute to the spirit world. We all have our levels differently. So I could just teach you it from my level and my experience of channeling for so long with my own guides as teachers. I do understand it that your ancestors that come back as spirit guides have completed all their lessons and have gone through a major energetic transformation to not be reincarnated.
Interesting.
And so that is how they become your spirit guides. And that's kind of what Vanessa was saying. Like I feel I'm a human spirit guide right now, but I know when I go, I become a spirit guide. I already know because my lessons will be
Okay. Very
Yes.
cool. Very cool.
Yes. Yay! I know what I'm going to be doing.
Have fun, Vanessa.
Yeah.
So, Betty Lange, Grand Old Folks, was wondering, when you wrote your book, did any new revelations about yourself come out giving you that aha moment?
Actually, I'm so grateful you just asked me that because a lot of people don't ask about my revelations ever. When I was writing the book, I have to be honest, I almost didn't write it. And that
Wow.
was because one of the things I recognized about myself is that even though I have all these hundreds of thousands of testimonials and all these years of experience and all these titles and all these things and all this great connection and these abilities that are just through the roof, I still sometimes don't feel I belong here. And so one of the revelations I had when writing the book was, is this even going to make sense? Because I don't belong here. And some of the stuff I'm talking about, people won't understand. And then I had to look in the mirror and go, wait a minute, you're a fucking psychic. You're a psychic medium. You've been doing this for years. You know what you're doing. Teach it to other people. So my revelation was I had to relearn in that moment that I was an author to teach psychic mediumship intuition work. So my revelation came from another kind of what Vanessa and I talked further is looking yourself in the mirror and accepting that this was who I am. And I'm not going to be afraid of it. I'm not going to not be who I'm supposed to be in this earth. I'm not. I'm just going to keep going.
I'm going to turn your words on you.
Uh-oh.
Because I love you, okay? I'll turn your words on you. Even if you help one person.
Yes.
Just one. Just like you told me.
Mm-hmm.
Because first of all, anyone worth anything questions themselves.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
You know? Yep. And to me, if you were to come out and say, no, I knew from the second I sat down, this is going to be it.
Yeah. Yeah.
I was going to be a master. Then I would have been like, okay, what kind of bullshit she hiding?
Right.
But you question it, and that automatically gives you authenticity. And that shows through in writing. People can relate to that. And if it only gets to one person, that's the whole reason you wrote it.
Yeah.
That's all that matters.
Thank you. That means a lot. And one thing to add to that, if we still have a second, is that I want people to understand that when you do this kind of work, any psychic medium that makes you feel like their gift is better than yours or that they have something special that you don't is not authentic. And I don't care if I get backlashed. I don't care if psychic mediums want to come at me. I will call your ass out. When you are a psychic medium, you are here to get other people connected. And it is about spirit and that person, not about the person in front of you's reaction, not about your validation if you're good or not about whether or not you're accurate. It's about helping other people know they can do what you do.
You just brought tears to my eyes again.
That's a true psychic medium.
Yes. I call myself, even though other people don't do it, I call myself the most hated woman in the paranormal because I have wrote an entire book calling out not the people and the names because I can be sued, but calling out. I've told people exactly what other people are doing.
Good.
This is how you're getting cheated. Don't tell me that you can do a spell to get rid of a curse from candles that grew. I said it, grew on the side of a mountain in Jerusalem. Bitch, candles don't grow. Don't fuck with me.
Right.
You know? So, yeah, I mean, all of that bullshit. I'm just like, no.
Good for you.
Thank you for being that. I mean, I'm not blowing smoke up your ass. I'm not kissing your butt. I'm just saying
I hear you.
Is so necessary right now because there are so many charlatans out there. You can't go on Facebook and throw a rock and not hit one. I'm just going to tell you that right now.
Yeah.
Sorry. I said what I said. I
Love
said
It's
what I
all good.
said.
It's all good.
Love you,
We'll do
honey.
2 more questions from the chat room real quick. And I'm sorry, guys, we weren't able to get to all of them, but you guys had a ton of questions. So real quick from Mr. CO2, have you noticed any psychic abilities not previously seen in younger generations that are coming out now?
I don't see any, I wouldn't say in my personal experience I've seen anything new per se, as much as I've noticed that their awakening is happening younger and younger. I work with a lot of teenagers, especially college students. I have 3 children that are gifted myself, of my own children, and even with their friends and within my own family of circle of friends of children, they know. They have a stronger inner knowing, and it's everyone's like, well, it's because they have access to social media. That is so not true, because half the stuff on social media isn't even true. They just have this inner knowing and this skill of inner knowing that I don't typically see in any adult. And so I would treat it as a newer skill set, but ultimately it's their spirit, it's their soul talking through them. Totally can see that. So I wouldn't say anything new, as much as I'm seeing a variety of what I teach, all combined in a younger age group.
Okay, so it's
On a
getting younger and
smaller
younger.
scale.
Interesting.
Yeah.
That is really interesting. And then last one from Alina the Fam. She says, my intuition is telling me we have some really hard times ahead of us and we have to be prepared. Is it just me?
No, you're very accurate. I've made several predictions over the past year. I've been turning them up a notch since March. My latest prediction was August 12th through September 15th. We are in the calm before the storm. And if you think that you've seen the worst, you have not seen anything yet. So I have, at least for my followers and listeners, I have been preparing them since March. I've been giving them insight, direction, tools to use. I've hosted meditations, workshops, courses to get them prepared for what's coming in August and September.
All right.
So you are correct. You are feeling right. And kudos to you for using your intuition and not second guessing it.
All I want to know is I have to fly to Scotland in April.
Oh,
and I already have
Is she going to be okay? Yeah.
You're going to be okay, girl.
I'll wear a damn mask.
No, don't. You'll probably pass out on that damn plane.
That's a long plane to wear, or a long flight to wear a mask.
I'm in dentistry, and you wouldn't believe the getup I've got to wear now.
Yeah. Not with your previous brain issues. You don't want any hypoxia going on.
I know. It's
be careful, please.
Don't even get me started on it, because people don't listen, and I've been in dentistry for 21 years.
Yeah, but you also have a medical history that's combats long wearing of
CO2 poisoning all the time.
So be careful.
All right. Well, Michelle, where can everybody? Well, we have down in the description for those watching YouTube the link to Michelle's website and also to her latest book. But Michelle, for the audio podcast that'll go out later, where can everybody find you?
You can find me on Odyssey One iHeartRadio for my show. It's also streamed live on Facebook and YouTube at Dr. Motherella, which is the @Dr. Motherella, or on YouTube it's just Motherella. But thank you. I'm so excited you guys had me. Thank you so much.
Yeah, you're absolutely. Awesome. And your website is motherella.com. So
correct.
There we go. All right, Michelle. It was an absolutely fascinating time. We'll definitely have to have you back. This was a lot of fun and very insightful.
Thank you. Thanks. It was a lot of fun. I love you both.
Love you, hun. You were I've had the best time.
Yeah, me too. Share your good news. Share your good news.
Oh, goodness. Well, we'll see what people say about it when they hear it.
All right.
Y'all.
Go ahead.
Next Tuesday is my last night for the show.
Yeah, we're gonna have to say goodbye to Vanessa.
Yes.
Oh wait, I'm gonna cry.
Yeah.
I just fell in love with you. Where are you going?
I have started. I've got a lot of ventures on my plate. I'm filming in Scotland next April. We're still putting together our series that we filmed in Ireland this past July. I have started a very big project for myself that is going to be in publication next year. And it's just and with the t-shirt company and everything else, I have to take a step back and really focus on all of that. So I've even stopped doing readings except for on the weekends. So between my job and my career, I have to prioritize. And I love y'all. And it's been 5 years. And
yeah, just about.
Yeah. And
But
I'm
Vanessa,
so
you're
you.
going to have to come back as a guest.
I will come back as a guest, absolutely. But I'm working on a very important book for myself and a corresponding screenplay.
I'm so proud of you. That's awesome.
Thank you. So,
yeah. Oh, that's great. I'll help you out. If you need me, you can just shoot me a message and I will help you out on your show.
Okay. Appreciate that. Thank you, Michelle.
Yeah. Because we have fun. We do have fun.
We do have fun.
You just have to deal with me giving you red cheeks.
Oh, well, there's that. Yeah. All right. So, Michelle, we'll go ahead and let you go, and then we'll get to all the shout outs and everything for the viewers here. So, all right. You have a fantastic evening. Thanks again.
Bye, guys. Bye, Vanessa.
Bye. Bye. Bye, sweetie.
Bye.
All right. There we go.
She is so awesome.
She is. She
so
definitely
awesome.
is. Yep. So
yeah, she is great.
You made the chat room go really they're all crying down there, Vanessa.
I'm sorry.
I see all these little there's all these sad faces and crying faces and
I have to do it. I
totally get it. So I mean you have a lot coming up and you want to focus on that. I understand.
Yeah.
So
but I love y'all.
Yeah, we all love you too, of course. And like I said, we'll definitely have to have you back on as a guest, especially when you start doing the Scotland thing and when the books come out and all that stuff. Yeah, because we'll want to hear about all of that. So, you're still a Haunted Road Media author, so you're not going too far.
Exactly. So yeah, I just exactly what she was saying. I have had to make myself a schedule. I've had to prioritize something that is super duper duper important to me that is very scary.
Yep. Yeah, it happens, and you got to make those tough decisions sometimes. So
yeah,
totally get it. So all right, let's go ahead and get to the shout. So next week will be your last show. So we'll have to do something special. Excuse me, at the end of that. So. And in fact, next week is Christopher Peters. So, and he had reached out to you to come back on the show. We've had him on a little over a year ago. So, so that's kind of a great send off. So, yeah. So, all right. So let's get to, of course, we need to thank Quarantine Ghost down in the chat for moderating the chat, sending me all of the questions and everything. So thank you very much for that. Deep Down the Rabbit Hole Patreon patrons. So we have Tom McNicholas, B3 Airspace, Pamela Queen, Joe Chandler, Andrew Cox, Dustin Samario, and David Yeisley. Thank you all very, very much for being Deep Down the Rabbit Hole Patreon patrons. And thank you to all the other Patreon patrons as well. So, all right, let's get to the participants tab. Of course, we have Beyond the Shadows coming up next, where we're going to be talking about the connected universe. So if you guys didn't listen to the podcast that went out yesterday, definitely tune in because it's going to have a lot of that information and more. So it'll be a great show. So let's go down here to, the participants tab. We have Bassist 1945. Thanks for joining us tonight. Bella Rose, thank you as well. Betty Lange, thanks for joining us. Candy Orton, thank you as well. Kathy Salinto, great to see you. Alina the Fam and Helen Espinoza, as always. Jackie Campbell, thanks for joining us tonight. There's Joe Chandler and Joy H. Thank you all very much. Just Me Charms, thanks for joining us tonight. There's Katie Palmer, Mr. CO2. Nick Moulet, and Fungi is in the house. All right. I always have fun with her name. Robert Hanna, thanks for joining us tonight. Rosella C. Rowe, thank you as well. There's Sharon Lane and Tammy Heitzman. Tom McNicholas, Tim Schoen, and hey, there's Vanessa Renee Hogel down there in the chat.
Yep. I just tell everybody I love them.
So, and since Tim Schoen is down there, it reminds me, this episode of Edge of the Rabbit Hole is brought to you by Haunted Road Roast. It helps you hunt ghosts. There we go. All right. So, see who else we have now. Christopher Stanton was down there. So I'm just going through the actual chat list here. See who may be in here that didn't show up in the participants tab. It looks. I mean, that was a pretty lengthy participants tab, so it may have gotten many people. Eva Gellert is down there. Let's see who else. All right, so I'm going to scroll back down, and if we missed you, well, you know, there's Zippy Davis. Zippy was in the house. It's good to see him tonight. So you know that if we didn't say your name and we missed you, it's nothing personal. It's just there's Adam Tillery. All right.
He's always hovering.
He's always lurking out there. So probably a little bit more than usual since Oak Island isn't on right now. So all right. That will do it. So stick around for Beyond the Shadows. It'll be right here on the Edge of the Rabbit Hole YouTube channel. And give me about 10, 15 minutes, switch everything out. I even have a blue light that I'm going to try to remember to plug in this time. And we'll be talking about the connected universe. So Vanessa, go tinkle.
I will. Later, guys.
Have a good night.
Love y'all. Mwah. Bye.